Hey, welcome to today's video. I interview Raging Christopher about the benefits of building out your team using the showing agent model. It's a unique and effective approach in the real estate industry that not many realtors have heard of. In this video, we'll explore how the showing agent model works, its benefits, how it can help streamline the home buying process for both you and the clients. Whether you're a seasoned real estate professional or just starting out, this model could transform the way you do business and grow your bottom line. So let's get
Here's
started.
Regine to speak to us about how to have a showing agent.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Great tee up for what I'd like to talk about today. So I am talking about the showing agent model, and I like to call it how to be in two places at once. This is something that I experienced for the first time in the mid 90s, and then here in my market, it is back strong again. Um, and the showing agent model, people really get into it for five reasons. Number one, it will improve your conversion ratios, and I'm going to go into more about that later on how this will actually improve your buyer conversion ratios. A lot of times we'll have a much higher client satisfaction because, again, you're not the one juggling every single ball in the air. You've got some leverage. And then when you're improving your conversion ratios and you are providing higher customer service, it's going to naturally follow that you're going to have more production and increased profitability, which I think is something we all are striving for. And it can also give you a better quality of life because we're going to talk about how this leverages your time and cuts a substantial amount of what I call windshield time out of your life. And then also by using a showing agent model versus bringing on a buyer agent, which I know so many agents do not want to do because they do not want to spend time recruiting and managing buyer agents. So this turns out to a very good alternative. For the most part, though, Stephen, I'll tell you that most of the agents that I talk to, there are a real reason why they opt for this. And number one, always, is because they notice that they're leaving leads and they're leaving money on the table. When business is just falling off of your desk, a lot of times that is what moves people to move to this type of model. And what they'll do is they will either go ahead and let the leads fall off the table and miss that opportunity, or they will offer another agent in their office some compensation to go ahead and show the property. But I will caution you that usually that person becomes a lower priority to the other agent than their own business because they're paying a referral fee off of that. And then sometimes they'll refer the client to another agent in the office and just get a referral fee themselves. But there is real lost opportunity there because I know we've talked about on other webinars um, the benefit that we get from growing our database and asking for referrals and repeat business. Or they'll simply say, I've had enough of this losing money and losing clients, I'm going to add a showing assistant to my team. So that is the why, and maybe some of you can relate to some of those. So when you have a showing agent, what do you do versus what they do? Well, I recommend that you continue to generate leads, you convert the appointments, and you write and negotiate the contracts. So the showing agent then takes over mapping the routes for the homes that they're going to show, picking the homes to show, and driving the clients around to show. So you can see what we've done is we've kept the really high dollar productive activities on your plate, and we've moved over the lower dollar productive. The things that aren't dollar productive, but yeah, they do lead to dollar productive activities, we've moved those over to a showing agent. So there's a myth out there, and maybe a lot of people are thinking this as I'm speaking is like, oh no, RJ, my clients only want to work with me. Well, I will tell you that the truth is that your clients care about the level of service they are given, and that's probably why they wanted to work with you in the first place. So if we can assure them that they're going to get, the Stephen Young standard of care, I promise you, with the correct handoff, they are going to be just as happy going out and looking at homes with your showing agent.
Yeah, RJ,
So,
just on that point, okay, just to validate
yes.
that statement, okay. In my own personal experience, if anybody knows who I am, I'm a very busy individual. All my days are full. Like, there's not a day of the week that goes by that's not full of something to do. And I was of the theory that my clients only want to work with me. They want my seal of approval. They want my stamp to say this house is the house you should be buying. Okay. I've
Mm-hmm.
built that over years of almost a decade of showing agents with a top level service to say, this is what I provide to you, and this is why I thought they needed to always work with me. But I got to a point years ago where I was so busy I couldn't handle all the business. I was literally losing business, like you were saying. And I would give agents the opportunity to work with my clients. But for me, I was worried, I was concerned. I was like, oh no, what if they don't get the same level of service? And it turns out that my clients were even happier because they had all the time in the world with this showing agent, yet they still
Right,
got the service of me for negotiating and saying this is the home you need, and getting the best home of their dreams, and they loved it. It was a better service overall. Okay, so it's
absolutely.
yeah, so it's an ideal situation for a very 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 busy agent who wants to expand their business and just doesn't want to let go of the control. Like I just never want to let go of the control when I was busy with my clients, right? Because I
Right.
didn't think anybody could do the same level of service, but it's not true. There's more agents out there that can provide uh, the same, if not better, service to your clients because they'll have less time or they'll have more time on their hands to devote more time to that client than I possibly could ever could. So just to
Absolutely.
validate that point, it's your clients, like you say, that is a very truthful statement. They just want high level of service. Doesn't matter who they're working with, as long as they're part of your team.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for saying that because I that is a very big myth out there, and I know it's personally not true. And so thank you for validating that. So, like I said, the handoff is critical. And the thing about the handoff is we have an opportunity to speak to the client in their own language. So if you understand the DISC, the theory that we are all a combination of four basic personality styles, we can use the script and we can modify it depending on who we're talking to. So I'll read this script to you as if I'm talking to a high I person, a high influence person. They are very social, they're very people oriented, they're all about the experience. So if I were working with a high I client, I know that I can't just go in there with fact and figures. I need to make this an experience, I need to make it fun. So if I were handing off a client to a high I, it might go something like this. Hi, this is Anne. She's my showing assistant. And my clients love viewing homes with Anne because she is so knowledgeable about the inventory in the area. Plus, you know what? She has a lot of fun. I get feedback all the time that people just love going out with Anne. And once Anne shows you the home we're looking for, Stephen, she's going to bring you right back here to me to write up the offer and negotiate all of the terms on your behalf. Anne and I will be in contact to discuss your criteria and what you're finding and what feedback you have. And you can always call me, and I know you're in great hands with Anne. So what Stephen was talking about a little while ago, he was saying with such passion because he really did believe that people could have a better experience with somebody else on his team than him. And what I want you to know is I need you to believe that so that when you do this script, you actually have some passion behind it and people are going to believe it because this is a very important part of using a showing agent is that handoff. But let's back up a second. So we're talking about what to do with Anne. Let's talk about how do we find Anne. And so I have on the screen for you some ideas. And the first thing that I want you to know is that many agents prefer to only bring on new or less experienced agents because they find they are easier to train. They don't have some of the bad habits that experienced agents will bring to the table, and they also lack the big ego that some high-powered salespeople have. We have to have that when we're in sales, and sometimes that's a little bit harder to deal with when you're bringing somebody on your team and you want to minimize the management of that person. So new and less experienced agents can be a great opportunity. Also, retired agents because they know the business, they know how to show property, get feedback, how to highlight a benefit instead of a feature of a home. They know all of this, but they don't want the entire activities that come with working with buyers. They just miss the people part of it, frankly, and they're willing to go out and show property. So they're probably my number one choice when looking for a showing agent. Basically, though, you need somebody who knows the area. You don't want to have to teach them all the different subdivisions and how to get around. You want someone who knows the area, and you want somebody who's enthusiastic. It shouldn't be a chore for them to give up their Saturday to go look at homes with people. I really like the IS personality. Again, if you're familiar with the DISC, the high I is the influencer. They are all about people. They're going to love going out and spending time with your people. And then the S personality stands for steadiness, and they're very patient. So if your clients aren't quick to make a decision, the IS is a very patient people personality, and that's a great combination for a showing agent. You may also want to find your showing agent in the back of your mind, knowing that this may be a future buyer agent for your team. And of course, it has to be somebody that you trust. That's absolutely critical. So, what's in it for Anne? So, when you're looking for this showing agent, you need to understand, why would they do this for you? Well, practice. Did you know that doctors operate on dead people for 4 years before they ever operate on a live person? There is a lot to be said for practice. And by letting Anne show property for you, she gets to practice on what I would call the easy part. It's hard to damage a client when you're just showing property. It's a much easier to damage a client when you're writing offers and negotiating on their behalf. So they get to practice one part of the business. You know, they get to train and shadow you. They get to see how you conduct a consultation, because I do recommend that when you bring that buyer in for the initial buyer consultation, once you've converted the lead, I say let Anne be there. Let her watch that and see how you handle objections. And then when you're writing the offer, again, she's going to learn how to handle objections like, I don't want to pay full price, or why should I put down that much earnest money, or why should we close within that period of a time? So she gets to really learn through mentoring and shadowing. And also, she may not know it, but she could be earning a place on your team as a buyer agent. So that's what's in it for Anne.
So yeah,
So
RJ,
what do you,
just on that
yeah.
note, so my agents know me well enough that they've heard this probably 1,000 times out of my mouth. But when I was playing football, one of the things I learned from a coach years ago when I was playing in university, he said that practice does not make perfect, even though that's what you always hear. If you want to
Mm-hmm.
be perfect, perfect practice makes perfect. And the reason why I
Right.
mention that is because it's one thing to hire a showing agent, okay, and then just say, go out and do some home showings and all that stuff. But what you really need to do as a professional, if you're really building a team, you really want to build a professional team, you have to show them on how to do the perfect showing if you want a perfect showing. Okay, you can't
Mm,
just let them go and do it and hopefully they practice and learn sort of just by doing, which most agents probably can do it. If you
mm-hmm.
really want to be a professional, just take them for just a few times out with you to shadow and just say this is how you do a perfect showing and show them the ropes, show them
Absolutely.
your steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is, on how to do the perfect showing. Okay, so just that quick note.
Very good point. You're right. You're right. I should have that in this presentation because that is critical. And also, as a second part of that, once they've shadowed you, I believe you should go out and shadow them and really make sure that they got what you taught them, because people retain only about 10%. So yeah, absolutely. So critical. So critical. Thank you for putting that in there. Um, Also, another thing that you need before she starts working with your clients, I believe you need a contract. And we have a contract I can share with you, Stephen, if any of your agents want it. But basically, it's going to define the expectations. What do you expect from him or her? And it's all the way from how they keep their car and what they wear and how early they show up for an appointment, to them not giving out their own information. So if I were using a showing agent, I would want to give them some business cards that has their name on it, but my phone number. Because you have to remember, these are your clients and you have paid, you have invested in lead generation and marketing to get these clients. The last thing you want to do is send them out with somebody else and they're going to build rapport. If your showing agent is any good, they're going to build rapport very quickly. So I like to provide the showing agent with a business card with my telephone number on it, so that if any communication is going to come right back to me, and I will pass that on to the showing agent. You also want a systematic way for your showing agent to follow up with you after showings. Another thing that I can provide to you, it's very quick. It can be scanned and emailed in, it can be faxed in, but it's a list of the homes that they looked at and what the feedback is. Because remember, we may be dealing with an inexperienced person. They might not catch the different cues that they might need to know to change the criteria for the search. And this is supposed to increase our conversion. So we don't want to take anything by chance. We still want to know what's going on with that client. We're just saving windshield time at this point. So how do you compensate your showing agent? This, I get this question a lot. So you have basically three choices. You can compensate them at an hourly rate and have them keep track of their hours. You could compensate them per property, so much per property shown, or you can pay them a percentage of your buyer side commission at close of escrow. And the third option is what I believe in, because the first two, they're getting paid no matter what happens with the client. So where is their skin in the game? I personally believe you only get paid if it closes, so they only get paid when it closes. That is what's going to have them sharpen their axe and come to you and say, darn, this is the third time I took them out, Stephen, and they haven't written yet. Look, can I go over with you what I'm doing and what I'm saying? I think I might be missing a closing opportunity. That's what you want. I don't think you're going to get that if you're paying them hourly or per property. Do you have any input on that, Stephen?
Yeah, one of the best things you can do is to do a percentage of your commission. Reason being is, one, as the sort of owner of the team, sort of the CEO of the team, you want to know what's going in your profit and loss statement, where's your expenses going, how much is coming in, all that stuff. So if you're paying somebody who really doesn't know what they're doing, if you're hiring a new agent, right, you may just be wasting money. Okay,
Yeah,
so one, it also filters out the serious and the not so serious. Not so serious agents, when they realize, well, you don't get paid every single day of working, you only get paid when you actually make a sale. It really weeds out those people, the not so serious people. The serious people who are committed to this business, and they're willing to do the 6 months to 1 year of hard work up front, and they know they're not going to get paid much money. They're the ones who are going to benefit long term. And though that this strategy of doing the percentage weeds out all the people who aren't serious about the business, and they're not non-professionals. Like, people understand the business, right? Even from an outsider's perspective, they understand you get paid by commissions, and you only get paid
right.
if it actually closes. So what that does, it just allows you, as somebody who's starting a new team, if you've never built a team before, to build a team without having big costs. Whereas
Right.
the hourly and per property, especially in a city like Toronto, where some agents and some clients want to see dozens of homes every single day. Like, it costs you it costs you a lot of money if they're not actually buying something.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right. It is a great way to weed out the people who aren't serious. I would only want to hire somebody who would bet on themselves any day of the week.
Yep.
And if they're too awfully fearful about it coming from close of escrow, then they're probably not betting on themselves. So great point. So people ask me all the time, so what is that percentage I should pay, RJ? And I'll tell you, when I tell them, they always tell me that they think it's really low. What we've been recommending to our clients is about 15% of the buyer side commission. So let's look at this, because I know what you're saying. You're like, oh, I wouldn't do it for 15% of the buyer side commission, but let's really take a look at what does that mean? So 15%, let's say the average sales price is 300,000. And I'm going to assume that maybe the commission on that 300,000 on the buy side is $9,000. $9,000 times 15% is $1,350. That's what the buyer's agent would take in this scenario. You could make it whatever percentage you want. I would say do not go over 15%. So of that 1350, um, I have heard repeatedly that the average number of hours per buyer is about 15. Sometimes we have the slam dunks that will buy in the first 5 houses, and sometimes we have the people that don't have much urgency, and we may show them property many times. But on average, people tell me about 15 hours. So if I take that 1350 and I divide it by 15 hours, look at the dollar per hour. It's $90 per hour. So if my showing agent wants to have a higher dollar per hour, she's going to work on her scripts and role play. She's going to work on presenting, benefits versus features, and she has an opportunity to move that $90 per hour even faster by closing them in fewer hours. To me, $90 an hour is very fair, and it's actually a great opportunity. So don't get hung up on saying 15% is low. It's really not when you're looking at how much time they're spending. So, myth. RJ, this showing agent sounds great, but I need more leads. What I think the truth is that we need to improve our conversion ratios. And we could probably do a whole webinar on conversion ratios, how to prove it, playing with the numbers and seeing how much that can add to our bottom line. So how do you improve the conversion ratios? Well, frankly, by doing a great buyer consultation, really sitting the people down, getting them into your office, talking about timing and motivation, because that's how you're going to help them move forward. You're always going to hold that motivation in front of them when they start hesitating or giving you some objections. It's also a great time to get a loyalty agreement signed so that they work with you and they don't buy a for sale by owner or a new build without you. Having the time to consistently and systematically following up with leads by reaching out and touching them on a set schedule and knowing what to say exactly at the right time. Script and role play practice so that you can handle objections and that you can work on your closing ability. And all of those things you will have more time for when you minimize your windshield time. Every single one of them. And I know by having a buyer consultation and truly uncovering their timing and motivation, following up consistently, and anyone who would practice their scripts every day would see such an increase in their closings. I know those three things will absolutely change your conversion ratios, which will make you more money. So what can this look like? I'm going to walk you through and what this can look like. It's going to go kind of to a big level, but that's okay. Stop where you want in the process. But I would think up to 24 buyer transactions, depending on what the market's doing. When we had a lot of short sales here in Phoenix, these numbers would be different. Right now we're back to traditional market. We are experiencing a buyer market right now in Phoenix. Up to 24 buyer transactions, an agent with some administrative help would easily be able to do up to 24 buyer transactions. And that's assuming they're also doing about 24 listing site transactions. When we add a showing agent, we believe based on what our clients are doing, you could easily go to 24 to 48 buyer transactions. That maybe would have been difficult to do by yourself with just an administrative assistant. Now, if we take it one step further, let's say that showing agent does such a great job that we are now going to allow them to be a true buyer agent. Maybe we may be doing some buyer consultations, but they're also able to do some lead conversion and buyer consultations. We might want to change them to a lead buyer agent and get another showing agent that buyer agent and I could share. And now we're maximizing two people's time. So that would be approximately 48 to 75 buyer transactions with this model. And then if I'm really going to take it out, and I'm looking at 75 to 150 buyer transactions, the model might look like this on the buy side. We might have a lead buyer agent who's going to be recruiting, training, holding accountable the showing agents, and they are going to find their own showing agents. We'll probably have two at this point. And we also may want to add in a lead coordinator, somebody that's helping to incubate all these buyer leads and do some of the contacting. So this is way far out, and I just wanted to give you a whole picture where it can start with the showing agent all the way out to having two showing agents, a buyer agent, and a lead coordinator. So just to give you a heads up.
So yeah, just to validate that for a second,
Yeah.
some of the top agents in Toronto, they don't even have two or three buyer agents. They have one buyer agent, one administrator, one listing assistant usually, and they're the lead agent. So no more than four people, and you can be cranking out millions of dollars in commissions in Toronto. This is what the top teams do here. Now, obviously, there's some major teams here with like 50 plus people, but for the large majority of them, it's less than four people on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen people make a great deal of money with 4 to 5 people on their team and have a happy, somewhat balanced life, which is, I think, the best we can all hope for. And that's really what this is about. It's just about leveraging your time. Because when you decrease your windshield time, you're freed up to perform other revenue producing activities to grow your business or to give yourself more free time with your family. Whatever your goals are for your real estate business, the showing agent can be a great option for leveraging your time and giving more of your time back to yourself.
Yeah, and just to note, if someone's on the presentation who doesn't know what windshield time is, that's you
Sorry.
behind the car driving behind the windshield, just driving your clients around like a taxi service. It's the least productive thing you could do in your day is drive your clients around in your car, showing them homes. Anybody can do it, okay? Not everybody can be a great negotiator. Not everybody can generate leads. Not everybody can do the things you need to do to be a great agent. Anybody can get behind the wheel and drive people around to show homes. Okay, so in Young Realty, we're always saying stop showing homes, start selling homes. Okay, most agents think they have to show homes to sell homes, and it's two different things altogether.
Right. Oh, I love that. Stop showing homes and start selling homes. Absolutely. Because if you think about it, when you're behind the wheel with a buyer in your car, can you take phone calls? Can you take leads? No, we don't do that. We're focused on our clients. So
Exactly.
there's so much more dollar productive things you can do while somebody else is driving your client around, looking,
Mhm.
opening doors. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that is what I have for you today. And it's been a pleasure, as always, talking to you, Stephen. I learned as much from you as hopefully your agents can learn from me on these webinars. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note that there's a big difference between showing agent and buyer agent. Okay, so buyer
Yes.
agent, we're not talking about that today. We sort of touched on it a little bit. But showing agent, the model is you're going to get somebody who's going to do sort of the day to day operations of showing the properties, period. They're not going to negotiate. They're not going to, they're not going to do the paperwork. They're not going to do anything that a buyer agent typically would do, which is why they generally get more money, anywhere from 25 to 30% of the transaction. And in my experience, but I think RJ, you guys coach even higher than that, right? It's a split of 50% usually.
Yeah, a lot here.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
with
a
buyer
lot.
agents, you have that sort of higher split, but they're doing a bunch more work as well. Okay, so
Right.
and you're more hands off as a lead agent. As a showing agent, you're literally that's all you're doing is showing the home. You're not you obviously you're gonna maybe give some advice. You're gonna have some direction from the lead agent. Say this is the steps you need to do when you're showing the homes, and this is how you need to show the homes, and this is the process you go through, and this is what you need to point out. This is what you need to look for. Is it near schools? Is it near transit? Does it need renovation? How much is the renovations going to cost? These are the things you need to teach the showing agent. We're talking about the perfect showing, right? Not just doing showings. So
Right.
again, there's a big differentiator between showing agent and buyer agents, but it's a great first step for anybody. If you're an individual looking to build a big team or to double your transactions from 24 to 48, like you were saying, start with a showing agent. It's the easiest thing you can do. And imagine advertising for the job role. So, if you can earn $90 an hour, $100 an hour, would you be interested? I'm pretty sure you'd have a few people interested in this. Now, obviously, you have to
Absolutely.
validate each of those leads that come in, but it's up to you to be the lead agent, the professional person, to use your guideline and your contract, like you were saying, RJ. If you could send us that contract, we'll get that
I
out to our
sure
agents as
will.
well to give them as a not to use it word for word, but use it as a benchmark to say this is what you need to use in a contract. And then it'd be up
Yeah.
to that lead agent to really get that contract honed into what they're looking for a showing agent, a buyer agent, listing assistant, whatever you're looking for. But yeah, showing agent is a great first step for anyone starting out in the business, even almost
Absolutely.
prior to getting an administrator, because a lot of the administration stuff you can do as a lead agent. Not that I recommend that you should always have an administrator, but that being said, if you don't want to pay, because most administrators don't work by commission, it's salaried. So,
Right.
so you want to make sure the first step is not necessarily showing agent, then admin, then buyer agent, then start building your team.
Right.
That's
Because
how
I
I would
think
do
a
it.
lot of people worry about before they hire that admin, they're like, well, how am I going to pay him? I need the funds.
Exactly.
And this is a great way to put more deals together because you're able to free up your time to do more lead generation or buyer consultations or practicing your
Yeah.
skills. Absolutely.
Yeah, being in the business for so long, it's funny how it's we see a lot of administrators come in, they see the checks that roll in, and then they want to become agents, right? It's rare that you'll see
Right.
an agent who wants to become an administrator, but it does happen because showing agents will get into the business not knowing that much about the business, but they'll get sort of a taste for it. And when they get out there, they may want to be an administrator. They say, "Look, I like the coordination part of it, but I don't necessarily want the people interaction or whatever it is." Okay, so you
Hmm.
may be able to turn them into an administrator or vice versa, but it's a great first step for anybody starting out who want to build a larger team
Absolutely,
in a
because
very
it's
cost
you
effective way.
maintain so much more control. A lot of people are afraid of giving up the control,
Yeah.
and this is a great way to add people without giving up too much control.